Welcome back to Your Health Matters. Grief is defined as the acute pain that accompanies loss. And for many of us, this past year and a half has been defined by loss, sometimes multiple losses. Our next guest is here to talk about the grieving process. Christy Beck is a licensed therapist and the faculty supervisor of the Her Clinic at Penn State University. Christy, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
So glad to have you here for this second season. Now, grief is something that we usually associate with the loss of a loved one, with a passing. But that's not what it is. That's not all that it is.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it could be from a lot of different things. So, of course, the loss of a loved one, the loss of a pet, the loss of a job. I know a lot of us have been in that kind of situation, especially over the past year and a half. But it could also be changes in relationships, the loss of a relationship, a divorce. So it could be, and it could even be a transition period too. So I see this with, say, seniors that I'm seeing in college, where they all of a sudden they're feeling like they're grieving all of a sudden as they're getting closer to graduation. And so even something really positive, it's still a loss in some ways. You know, it's the loss of their life as a college student. As a student, they've known nothing else for the past 22 years. And so it's really important just to whatever transition phase that we're going through or whatever losses that happen, that we recognize and give ourselves that time to process.
Well, speaking of processing, there are 5 recognized stages of grief. So let's talk about those.
Yes, yes. So the first one is denial. And so that's the shock phase where like this is not happening to me. And then it moves on to the anger phase. And that's anger at, it could be the disease if, someone's taken by cancer or something like that, or a driver, if someone was hit in a hit and run, something like that. So, or just anger in general, like how could this happen? Why why did this happen to this person? And then we go into bargaining, which is, I promise I'll be a really good person. I'll eat all my vegetables. I'll do everything, if we just make this go away, if this person just comes back to me or the situation gets reversed. And then depression, which is just absorbed by the sadness. And then finally acceptance, where we're, kind of coming towards the other side of it, where, we're, okay, this has happened, I'm accepting this has happened. And also keeping in mind that these stages are not linear, so we're not going to necessarily progress through each of the stages at a specific time. And then we also have to keep in mind that not everyone hits every single one of those stages. And so, again, everyone's process is going to be really, really different. And so just knowing that, your grief process doesn't have to match up to other people's.
So grief can also manifest itself emotionally and physically. So let's touch on the emotional.
Right, and so we might notice some emotional differences in us, so intense sadness, feeling guilty, like why didn't I not do more with that person? Why couldn't I have been there more? These are all really normal feelings to go through.
What about physically? How does it manifest physically for us?
Right, and so physically it might be just fatigue, feeling nauseous. We might be losing weight. We just, sometimes we're so consumed with grief, we're not eating the way we're supposed to. And so all of a sudden we're losing weight, or we're, stuffing those feelings and we're eating a lot to, comfort ourselves. And so we might be putting on weight. It might, our immune systems might be down a little bit because if we're not taking care of ourselves properly, then we can be more susceptible to colds or other kinds of things that are going around.
We only have about 30 seconds left, but a little advice for anybody who's going through the grieving process.
Yeah, I would say that, just taking care of yourself, seeking help when you need help, talking to people, understanding that not everybody is going to be really comfortable talking about it. And so sometimes people have really good intentions and they just don't know what to say. And that's okay. But, talking to people that you feel comfortable with, obviously, as you know, I'm a big proponent of therapy. Getting help, seeking some kind of therapy is always really helpful.
Very much so, and I hope anybody who's suffering does reach out. Christy, as always, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
When we come back from their farm to your table, we'll explore a local farmer's market next.